Greetings. Please, let me introduce myself. I am Amиреулы Улагат, a teacher trainee in the Nazarbayev Intellectual School of Chemistry and Biology in Karaganda. Today, we will show you a computer science lesson for class 9 on encoding audio files. This tutorial is the second in a series of lessons section 9.2b, Graphics, in which students are introduced to the binary representation of an image of audio data on a computer. This series of sequential lessons combines a single concept, quality, the development of which takes place in the framework of pair and individual work. The use of pair and individual work in the classroom encourages dialogue to develop students not only in communication skills and self-expression, but most importantly, for students supporting each other. Joint discussions will take place in pairs in a continuous exchange of views between the students, which will contribute to the development of attention, speech, thinking skills, reasoning and creativity. Evaluation of work and the results of individual and pair activities will take place within peer evaluation, developed on the basis of criteria that take into account the amount and quality of work performed. Selection of tasks for formative assessment in the classroom carried out in accordance with the obligatory based on age characteristics of students. Performing tasks in independent search, formulating research questions will promote the development of critical thinking. During the lesson, students will be required to use the software to update the results of their own research. The use of ICT tools in the classroom is seen as the basis for the formation of developing creativity and stimulates thinking. Good morning, everyone. Before we move on our new topic, I would like to ask you some questions. So, look at the screen and you have some minutes to answer the questions. Please, Nurali, start. First question.
First question is, describe how a computer can understand an image.
Okay. Who would like ask something for this question?
I think we should think about coding of each color. So on this picture we have 5 colors. We need to code each color by 3 bits. So white will be 0, 0, 0, black will be 0, 0, 1, gray will be 0, 1, 0, dark gray is, it will be 0, 1, 1, and the light gray will be 1, 0, 0. I think it will be purple for this picture, and we can start coding each line with this code. Okay.
Thank you, Rasul. So, Arjun, how many bits we need to code it?
We need 3 bits because we have 5 colors, and if we have less than 8 colors, we use 3 bits.
Okay. Do you agree with Arjun?
Yes.
Okay. Nurali, what about second question?
For bitmap images, why do we need to compress it? As usually, bitmap images had a big size, and if we will compress it, we will get a lower size.
Let's talk about third question. Janya, please read.
Describe the method by which compression can be used on the image. This picture is colorful, that's why we need to use JPEG format, and also algorithm of compression will be JPEG.
Okay. Aizada, why we can't use BMP format?
We
can't use BMP because BMP can use this only for black and white color picture, and but this picture are not this picture have 5 colors, therefore it's uses only JPEG.
Okay guys, I'm going to show you a video. It's a character you might recognize. Do you recognize this guy?
Yes.
What's his name? Okay, I want you to listen to his voice for a second. Okay, I think that's enough of his voice, it's annoying. Can you describe what his voice sounds like? If you have to describe a voice, what does it sound like?
The alien's voice has high pitch, and the speed of his speech is very high.
Imagine you have to record your voice and change it into something that sounds like his voice. What technology could you use?
To change our voice, we need microphone and voice editor.
So, how do you think what is the main topic of our lesson?
Coding.
Okay, you're right. Encoding sound files. Please write on your notes. On last lesson, we learned about graphical coding, and we know lesson objectives. How do you think? What is the lesson objective for our topic? Please.
First, how we code sound files, and second, what we use for sound files.
What file formats we use for sound? Yeah. During the lesson, I continue to develop an understanding of the concept of the student's quality, whose foundations were laid in the first lesson of the series. As a means of assessing the effectiveness of the concept of training planned work on the preparation and the search for answers to the question within the conceptual and peer evaluation. Learning new material is carried out within the pair work on pre-selected internet resources. Students need to build on the success criteria for the skill of application, explain the difference between analog and digital representation of the audio information. The results of the mini-study are shown in the form of a poster, which allows preparation, including to achieve not only the subject, but on the subject of the language learning objectives. Evaluation of the results of pair work is based on a series of questions and answers, which students independently formulate and ask each other. Its development in the planning of the lesson received and the principle of differentiation through the deepening of the concept study with different fields. A key element of the reasoning used by students in the classroom has become the goal. That is what will determine the effectiveness of their research work. In this model of argumentation, students will be able to realize, due to the detailed study of the criteria of assessment and the depth analysis and evaluation of training during the dialogue.
Analog and digital signals. There are two different ways of sending information, either by analog or by digital signals. So what's the difference? Well, let's look at the analog signal on screen. We can see that it varies continuously in both amplitude and frequency, and the signal can take one of many different values. Now let's look at a digital signal. So here we see that the signal can only take two values, either a 1 or a 0, which we sometimes call on or off. digital signals are sent as a series of pulses of either ones or zeros. Okay, so that's great, but which is better? Well, digital is a much better way of sending information over long distances. Now let's see why. So, here is someone talking on a phone. The signal from their voice is analog, sound, and it enters the phone and is converted to a digital signal, and then sent out via microwaves to a phone mast, which then sends it on to a satellite, and then back down to another phone mast, and then on to the person receiving the phone call. Let's look at the signal received by that phone. If we look, we can see it has picked up a lot of noise or interference, but it's still really obvious exactly what it should look like, so the phone can easily convert it back perfectly to be the same as the original signal. Now let's look at this using analog. So now the analog signal, the sound, enters the phone and is turned into an analog electrical signal and sent down copper wires. Now, note how it picks up noise and interference, and the amplitude is reduced as it travels until it gets to the other phone. Now let's look at it again. It looks very, very different to the original signal now. It's almost completely impossible to know what this signal should have looked like. And it needs amplifying as well. This amplification is only going to amplify the noise just as much as it does the signal. So noise or interference has really damaged the analog signal. And this is why digital is so much better than analog. Noise or interference is just not a problem for digital, but is a huge one for analog, making digital signals much higher quality. Other benefits of digital are that it can carry much more information. In fact, you can send multiple different signals all at the same time, and digital signals are also easily interpreted by computers.
Dina and Yaroslav, what's your question for whole class?
My question for Aizadar is so computer to process sound, computer needs to code it in binary code. So which device we use to code analog signal to digital?
To code the analog signal to digital signal, we can use the microphone.
Can you give me examples for analog sounds?
Yes, Arjan, please.
For example, sound or voice of humans, sound of birds, animals, and the sound of real instrument. Yes.
Okay. And Aizada, your question?
What is the sample rate?
The sample rate is how samples or measurements are taken in each second.
Give me examples of digital sounds or files.
For example, computer audio files in computer, they has digital sounds. Also, when you call someone from phone, you hear from him digital sound.
That's right. Thanks.
So, you gave me very interesting questions, and I heard very fascinating answers. But look at the interactive board. How do you think? Do you achieve success of criteria? And Yaroslav, please read it. And what is your opinion?
The skill of this success criteria is application, and success criteria is explain the difference between analog and digital representation of the audio information. I think that we don't fully achieve this skill because we don't do the full questions that is will be have like the words like because and it's we just give the easy explanation of this.
Okay, and Alisher, what about you?
I agree with you. Also, we haven't got complex questions. So I think because of this, we haven't achieved our aim.
Your skills. Yes, and in this way we are going to the next task for achieve this skill. So look at the next slide. And it is this task for individual work. You have a handout number 2 and 3, and there are some instructions where you should do this, and it's your opportunity to achieve this skill and success criteria. You have 5 minutes for this task, so time is on. To evaluate the effectiveness of teaching and learning process in the peer work, I used the peer evaluation. The choice was made correctly as conducting observation in the classroom for the peer evaluation procedure. I drew attention to its significant benefits. It promotes better assimilation of topics for students as well as peer assessment. A student re-evaluates in order to prevent errors in the assessment. Thus, a student responsible for their actions, as well as the ability to argue exposed evaluation, which is clearly shown in the understanding of students' assessment criteria. Time is over. So, next step, evaluate the results of this task. 2 minutes. Evaluate. Don't forget about success criteria. Encode binary data form a sound wave. What mistakes she has? So, tell me please, who has encoded fully and right? Oh, well, almost all of you done this task. And tell me please, who has achieved this lesson objective? All of you. Good. And you have, please slide next. And you have a quest for teamwork, whole class work. Please, give me please examples of audio file formats and list the characteristics of these formats. What audio file formats do you know?
For example, music.
What file format of music do you know? MP3 and Wave. So tell me please disadvantages and advantages. When we use MP3, for example, have you ever met with Wave formats?
Yes.
Yes.
Where?
In computer.
In computer.
Yes.
Okay. And do you see some distinguishes, maybe differences between two file formats?
Yes.
Yes.
What differences do you see?
MP3 is more used for music, and MP3's file format or file size is less than Wave.
And how do you think why Wave format is more than MP3?
Because Wave format is good quality, better quality than MP3.
What's the reason of this best quality?
They have different sample rate.
Right, and
Maybe they use different beats to code it.
maybe.
More beats or more better code.
When performing individual tasks, students do not need additional instructions during the lessons. Instead, they use the criteria for assessing the effectiveness of their work. In my opinion, this is clear indication of the success of the selected learning strategies in the formation of students' independence. Doing this job, in fact, in line with the key principle of formative assessment, the student was able to identify their strengths and weaknesses through the analysis of individual performance and to determine the strategy for achieving objectives in the area where it was needed to continue their work. Using the self-assessment of their knowledge and skills, students created the necessary conditions for the development of metacognitive skills that many studies show as a significant improvement in their learning processes. For our audio to Audacity, we need a microphone. So please, Alisher and Burali, please take it microphones and give it to all class. One microphone for one pair. Thank you. And please start. You have only 10 minutes for analyzing digital sound audio.
Кто мы, да?
Да.
Так, работаем.
Sound needs to be converted into binary to be able to.
And now you should write an explanation of the differences and reasons for this difference.
Sound needs to be converted into binary form computer to be able to protest.
So, how does sampling affect the audio quality? Yes,
It's more bits per second, the higher the quality.
good answer. If the bits per second are higher, how does that affect the file size? Yes.
If audio has a high quality, so it will have a bigger size.
Okay, and we've seen different file formats. Why does everyone like using MP3s? At the back.
Because MP3 is the most common audio format in software.
Good answer. Well done. Okay.
Reflection is something new to aspire a modern pedagogy. Teaching is not a science, but learning to learn. Reflection helps the student not only understand the traveled distance, but also to build a logical chain, to systemize the experience, compare their success with the success of their students. The use of these tasks allows children to better articulate their thoughts. It is better to memorize studied. Consider the most commonly used in their work methods of critical thinking technology. We know that they contribute to a better memorization of the studied material. The development of cognitive activity stimulates the activity of students in their classroom. Children learn not only to acquire information, but also to consider from different perspectives, critically evaluate, interpret, and apply. Reflection content of the material is used to identify the level of awareness of the covered content. In my opinion, the purpose of the lesson was quite realistic and achievable. Students fully decided tasks in case of difficulty performing the task to provide full support on the part of teachers. During the implementation of practical tasks, students were monitored due to well-chosen task of thinking developed in students the ability to analyze information. All the content of the lesson is completely consistent with the theme and modern didactic requirements. In my honest opinion, an indicator of the effectiveness of assimilation of new knowledge were active cognitive activity of students during the lesson. Time management was achieved through well-developed lesson progress according to plan, its methodological and didactic content. In my opinion, the research work of students in pairs as well as tasks for collaboration with the self-evaluation have been very good. It is important to note that active part in their pair and individual work during the occupation from individual students showed creativity in the classroom. I believe that the lesson corresponds of the standards and requirements of contemporary lesson.
Okay, there is an end of our lesson, and you have the 3 ways of reflection. Please, what 3 things you learned on this lesson? Please, lecture.
I learned how to sample and how to sing.
Okay. What else? Janya?
I learned about the difference between analog and digital signals.
Good. And third?
I learned about the difference between MP3 and wake formats.
Okay, good. And do you have any questions for this lesson? Yaroslav, what questions?
Have we some advanced types of audio files?
Okay, and who else have?
How we can compress other forms of audio.
Okay, with these questions we start our next lesson. And in the end, what ways you contributed to today's class connect? Yes.
In pairs, we recorded a 5-second audio file in Audacity.
Right. And who else?
We wrote in pairs and we discussed.
Yes, you work in
Groups
pairs.
and
Right. Okay. That's our end of the lessons. See you and have a nice day.
Bye.